There's a question of principle, though, and when you were asked about this in opposition, you said that the most important thing to you was your commitment to your spending limits, those fiscal rules as they are known. So I'll ask again, in principle, are you willing as Chancellor to ignore the recommendations for increasing the pay for teachers and other public sector workers?
We will set that all out later this month.
But
I value the work that public sector workers do. They provide a huge service to our country. But we will set it out in a proper way later this month. People won't have long to wait. We will do that before this month is out.
And I can see you don't want to give the detail of what decision you may make, but there is an important question of principle here. Ministers are expected in normal times to follow the recommendations of the independent pay review bodies. That's the point of having them. It's meant to take the politics out of it.
I totally understand that. And we are in a position where the previous government gave a mandate to the pay review bodies, but they haven't properly factored in the cost of it. That is what this review will be about, looking at the state of the public services, the state of the public finances. But there is also a cost of not settling, because the cost of this ongoing industrial action, the cost of failing to be able to recruit and retain the doctors, the nurses and teachers, that also has an impact on our economy.
What we absolutely must not forget in this discussion is the fact that since 2010, teachers have faced unprecedented pay cuts. Don't just take my word for it, that's according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Average teachers' pay is a whopping 9% lower in real terms today than in 2010, with cuts even larger for more experienced workers in the profession.
Would you want to work as a teacher on pay that is 9% lower than it was in 2010?
Well, I'm not a teacher, probably wouldn't.
Well, no arguments from me on that one. With teachers taking on second jobs, skipping meals and using food banks just to make ends meet, is it any wonder we face a teacher recruitment and retention crisis that shows no signs of abating? Some support staff and teachers have been forced to access benefits like universal credit just to cope. And to cap it all off, teachers work more unpaid overtime than any other profession. Here is the General Secretary of the National Education Union, Daniel Kebede, speaking to Radio 5 Live.
Well, the pay review body process is the government's process. I would prefer, as representative of the largest teachers' union in the UK, to directly negotiate pay, but the pay review body process is their process. It would be highly inflammatory, highly problematic if the pay award is 5.5% and the Prime Minister then intervened and didn't implement it. That would put us on a direction of travel where there would be industrial action.
As you said, though, although it's their own body, it's not legally obliged to take the advice, is it? It is just advice and recommendations. And we know, considering the promises that have been made not to increase taxes, not to cut public spending, that this doesn't necessarily align with that.
Well, Jeremy Hunt and Gillian Keegan implemented a 6.5% pay award last year once the pay review body recommended it off the back of our industrial action. If Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves were not to implement a 5.5% pay award, that would be a step that even the last Tory government didn't take.
Mr Kebede is absolutely right to say if new Prime Minister Keir Starmer were not to implement a 5.5% pay award, if that were to be the recommendation of the pay review body, it would be a step that even the last Tory government didn't take.
When it comes to the issue of pay, we have accepted in full the independent recommendations of the pay review bodies.
We accepted in full the recommendations of what is an independent process, the pay review body process.
The government has entirely accepted, the independent pay review bodies' recommendations.
And of course we have an independent pay review body, and this year we did fully accept all of their recommendations in full. We have accepted all of the pay recommendations. We'd agreed, the independent pay review body, their recommendations.
So let's not forget what's really important in this discussion, that average teachers' pay is now a whopping 9% lower in real terms today than in 2010, with cuts even larger for more experienced workers in the profession. That teachers are taking on second jobs, skipping meals and using food banks to make ends meet. And if we don't urgently correct that, the crisis we face in teacher recruitment and retention will just continue.